What's up, Internet? What's going on? It's Wednesday. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're doing great. Hope you got your fingers ready, because we gotta type like crazy into the chat. We gotta type like crazy into the chat, my friends. We gotta go big. We gotta go large today, because it's the middle of the week, and I don't think any of us can handle it. Can we handle it? Well, at least if we feel like we can't handle it, we're on the downslope. We're on the downslope towards the end of the week, so worst case scenario, if you feel like you can't handle it, we're over halfway there. We're completing some kind of thing. It is August 1st, 2018. Woo! We are past the middle of the year, too. How weird is that? We are past the middle of the year already. I don't know what's going on with 2018. It's going by quite rapidly. I would fully admit it. I will fully admit it that it is going by quite rapidly. Oh, man. Things are going by quickly. Time is flying by. Things are happening at a rapid speed. But first things first, let's say what's up to the first people in the chat. Oddball Aquatics coming in first today. If you guys didn't see on the Facebook, Oddball Aquatics dropping some rap yesterday. Dropping some Aquarium co-op rap. I was digging it. I definitely appreciated that. Extra thumbs up. I think I forgot to comment on it, but, you know, I'm not the best at commenting on the Facebook. I forget sometimes. Sometimes I think like, oh man, I commented on that, but no, I forgot. You know, sometimes we got to admit our deficiencies, you guys, and one of my deficiencies is forgetting to comment on YouTube posts and Facebook posts and commenting. There's so much commenting. Huh. So much commentary going on. It's difficult to keep up with. But AJ's Aquarium coming in second, followed by Mako and Bald and Dangerous in fourth place. Everyone, I think the most common, speaking of comments, I think the most common comment I get is, what is up with all this nonsense at the beginning of your show? And, yeah, it's my show. So I like to start it out with a bunch of nonsense, rambling, saying what's up. Shout-outs to who's first. Why not? Because it's what I like to do, even though it irritates people. But I will tell you guys the topic of today's show. Get your questions ready, because I'm going to try. Let's try and keep this punchy. We're going to try and keep it fast. I'm going to be answering your questions from the live chat today. That is our main topic today. That's what we're doing today. Because I'm about 20 hours behind in my work, and I've got a million things going on, and that means that there's a million things going on. It's super busy. Everything's been taking way longer today than I had anticipated, and I'm only about halfway done with the day, and I somehow got to still do like 20 hours worth of work. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. But let me say hi real quickly to the rest of the people I can read out in the chat. I see Bentley Pascal. I see Mateo501. Mr. Charlie is here. Good to see you. Tropical Tanks. Rumbust coming in with a super chat right before the show even started. The Swedish Crone super chat. Well, thanks, my guy. Definitely appreciate it. Still have no idea what the significance is of the amount that he... So it's 1541. 15.41 Swedish krones. And I have no idea what that means. Vexing Cat is here. M. Howie9, what's up, my guy? You messaged me about that fish meetup that had gone on in his area, his neck of the world. And hopefully, yes, I hope I'm able to make it next year. Blake, the Tropical Fish Whisperer. Kill Michael is here. Aquatics at will. What was Charlie answering? Or what was Charlie asking? Well, I don't know. Licks Nibbles is here. Joseph Brown in the house. Joseph Coates. We've got all the Josephs here. We've got Joel Gillett. We got Nando Manuel. Fancy Tail Aquatics. Noob Phobo. Master Beta. Alvin Alejo. Vbui is here. What's up? Joe Miller. Yeah, we've got all the Josephs today. I'm going Joseph strong. All right. Liking that. Mako says, can I keep plecos, cories, and a beta together? The answer to that question is 99% of the time, yes. That should not be a big problem. I would just make sure that you have a pretty similar mixing of diet, because most of the things sinking down to the bottom, most everybody's going to be feeding off of the bottom. So you want to make sure that you have, whether you have meat-eating plecos or, like, veggie-eating plecos and cories, you want to make sure that you're just feeding all to the bottom and that everybody has enough to eat. That's going to be your biggest concern. The beta is pretty easy to feed, so but I've had that mixing many times and won't be that big of a deal. So that's what I would do. Let me see. Gareth Doyle is asking, hi, Joel. Never got to test the TDS of my tank. And now I'm dealing with calaminous worms in a country that doesn't readily have levamisole. So I don't know what country you're in, but maybe we can, maybe if you post what country you're in, maybe we could figure out through the power of the internet, what treatment is in your country. So I don't know what country you're in, Gareth, but we'll check that out. Nick B says, what's happening, everybody? Nick's Fish Room says, what's up? Zombie Drummer's here. Oh, good. I like having the zombie drummer here. I feel safe. When the zombie drummer is here. Alyssa Bentley is here saying, what's up? Let me see if I got another question here to go from. Hopefully we can get a follow-up on Gareth, wherever Gareth is, and see what country you're in, and maybe we can get an idea of what to utilize in your neck of the woods for the calaminous worms. But I hate them worms. Day crazy. Let's see. Gareth says he's in Ireland, so we've got somebody in the UK. Maybe some of our United Kingdom friends can help out with what could be treated out there, what kind of medications there are, because I really just have no idea what's available in the UK. One Asterix Aquarius is only a little late, managed to catch another live stream in the middle of summer chaos. Yes, summer chaos is it's full blown here. I've got full blown summer chaos. I've got so much. I was doing all the first of the month stuff, going through doing taxes. Had to go to the bank. Had to get a haircut. It has just been total chaos. I finally finished editing a really, I don't want to say it's like a top-notch video, but I'm pretty excited to release it. And then when it went to render, it's all screwed up. So the computer was over here grinding away for 2 hours and didn't render it. Which makes me very angry, but we'll go right back to the drawing board and get that thing rendered and get it out to you guys as soon as I can. I think it'll come out this weekend, I think. I'll probably have that come out on like Saturday or something like that. Joe Miller says to hit the like button because that's important. Nick B has a question. What's the easiest, most cost-effective way to fix needle tail in guppy fry? Ooh. The easiest, most cost-effective way would realistically be, I think realistically the easiest way to go about that is to is culling, basically. You know, you're with most guppy breeds, they've been with most guppy breeds, they've been so selectively bred that oftentimes, this is, as far as I can tell over the years, has been more to do with just them being, inbred for a really, really, really long time, even though you don't normally see that for 100 generations, 200 generations and stuff like that in guppies. They breed pretty prolifically, so we can actually start hitting that point. But if you are noticing anything wrong with any fry out there, especially live bearer fry and stuff like that, I would strongly take into consideration your water quality and just double check, triple check, make sure whatever's going on with your water quality is next level. And a lot of stuff like that, as they kind of grow up, they might grow out of it. But then there's always going to be the problem of that they may or may not grow into something that you didn't necessarily want to keep. So, that culling is going to be a big deal. Increased genetics moving forward as you breed them, if you do grow them up, which means basically you're just going to have to get some other strains of guppy and then, obviously quarantine, all that stuff, get them moved into your fish room and breed that way to try and diversify the genetic line. But that's normally the big issue with guppies. Whenever you have guppy fry that have something going on, is that a lot of times they're inbred or the water quality is just weird, and it's hard to kind of tell exactly what's going on with the little fry. And that would be, I guess that would be the best advice that I would be able to get for you in regards to what you got going on. Is that's what I would definitely do. Smeal Kapoor just showed up, saying it's midnight over there and just finished up some maintenance and trimming. Oh, boy, howdy, do I have a lot of maintenance and preparation things to get going. I've got so much travel to do this month. I'm like just stacked up with work to try and get all the work done in the meantime, and it's kind of brutal right now, to be honest with you guys. My workload is just kind of bonkers. Nick B says, gotcha. Only about 4 out of 6 out of the 100 fry have the needle tail. Okay. Yeah, I would think that if it's only just a few out of all those, it's probably a genetic thing would be the first thing my first inclination would be that it's probably some kind of genetic thing going on. And then, from there I would, I would raise them and let them get bigger and then see what's going on as they kind of grow up a little bit. But if there's a specific thing to do while you have the fry, it'd be to double check the water parameters, make sure the water's nice and clean and you don't have anything weird stressing them out and making them look weird, because they are pretty small, and those kinds of things can, give you the visual of like, oh no, what's happening? And oftentimes it just could have to do with just the water. And when you have fry and stuff like that, they're much more sensitive to the variables in the water. So I would check that, and then I would basically cull the ones. I'd just move them to another tank where they're not going to be breeding with the ones that you're trying to breed. Candy is here, and she has activated lurker mode. Come on now, what are you doing activating lurker mode? You're just too busy for us, Candy. I understand. But shout out to Caleb. If Caleb is out there, maybe he's in lurker mode too. And we're always thinking about you. Always thinking about Caleb on the reg. So hopefully things are going better out there for our homie, and things are going well. CKL 138, I think. Oh, maybe it's clicked. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is. Was asking any tips on keeping chocolate gouramis. Chocolate gouramis are actually a relatively easy fish. I wouldn't necessarily keep them with other fish personally. They're the type of fish that I would set up an independent tank for, mainly just because it's a lot easier to keep track of what's exactly going on. Like if you have a pair of them, you want to keep an eye on if they're breeding. If you have like a school of them, you want to make sure that they're getting along, that kind of stuff. The water parameters are not that out of this world. You're basically looking for 80 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in that range for the water, though they can vary from from here to there. You definitely want some leaf litter for them. You definitely want some leaf litter in that tank. You do want a little bit of tannins, that kind of stuff. I would think of, probably for me personally, if I was going to keep the gourami, I would have something like a 40-gallon tank, something along those lines, nothing gigantic. And then I would definitely, personally, I would keep it planted with, pretty cool plants that are all pretty hardy, because gourami have been known to kind of hammer down on some fish or on some plants. If you're trying to keep duckweed and stuff in there, they'll probably eat that. So a lot of floating stuff they'll kind of move around. I would think of some mildly durable plants, but they are one of the cool labyrinth gill fishes that I definitely I've kept in the past. It's been a long time, but the parameters there are pretty. I wouldn't say that they're like wide open, but you definitely want to have some tannin, some leaf litter, some plants. I wouldn't be super stressed out about the temperature personally, but I would make sure to have pretty decent filtration. They're not the dirtiest fish in the world, but they're certainly not the cleanest fish in the world. But with the labyrinth gill, if you have some reasonable cycle in there and you have some good filtration, they should be doing quite well. But with the gouramis, one of the things that I recommend to most people would be to do some live food. You'll definitely see a lot better. You'll just see a lot better quality out of the fish if you are feeding some live food and stuff like that. They are the type of fish that you definitely need to give them some good quality food. Otherwise, they'll look all drab and be kind of boring. But they're a really cool fish, and I can't think of anything else. But I would definitely keep them by themselves, though, and go that route. You could breed them and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to breed them. Relatively easy, so I don't know, hopefully that helps, but they're not a fish I would be super stressed out about their tank parameters personally, but if you set it up and you have a good established system, it really shouldn't be that much of a problem. Fancy Tail Aquatics, using outdoor ponds and parasite issues when bringing them indoors, as in guppies. Using outdoor ponds, do you end up with parasite issues when bringing them indoors, i.e. guppies? Like, yes, that is something that you definitely do want to take into account, that outdoor pond fish and stuff like that, don't bring them directly into your fish room, because there are a lot of variables that will happen outside that are kind of out of your control, and it's not, they aren't a negative thing, but they're just things that happen outside. I mean, if a duck was to fly into your pond, hang out in there, and poop and do all sorts of duck stuff, and then fly away before you even came up with your morning coffee, you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even have known that would happen. So you definitely do want to quarantine fish if you are going to bring them in from your pond to your fish room, just to make sure that they don't have parasites, or they don't have something that they're bringing in from the outside that you didn't have, that wasn't within your control. and you know, like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I would look at it this way: if you have pond fish, I would just treat them like a fish that you got from the store. You know, is that you want to quarantine them, you want to put them under a little observation before you bring them into your smaller system, like in your fish room, like maybe you're going to do some winter breeding or something like that. I would go at it 100%, just going like, oh, I'm just bringing these fish home from a store that like got them from a wholesaler. That's how I would approach it. And you might not even have to treat them for anything, but I would keep them in their own tank so that it gives you an opportunity to put them into observation to see what's going on and see what's happening. James Leister says, do plants planted in front of a bow front aquarium get significantly less light than those planted directly in the middle with the modern Fluval 3.0 LED lighting because of the LED's directional nature? Whew. That is a good question. The first thing that comes off the top of my head is that I think in the front of a bow front, I think we'd really have to do some par meter readings to see what is actually being like reflected back from the curved from the curved glass, you know, because it could be working like a reflector and sending light back that has been heading at it. Now, I have mentioned this a few times that I definitely, I certainly appreciate 100% the Fluval lights. I 100% appreciate the LED directional light. I think there's still space in this world for some T5s for a while. I don't think it's going to last very long, though, personally, mainly because of the fact that people just aren't going to be making, you know, T5 bulbs, any of that kind of stuff. They just aren't going to be making those for that much longer. I want to make sure that I don't say this correct or incorrectly. But so one thing that I think people need to start to familiarize themselves with, I know that light is confusing. It's a very confusing thing. It's very difficult to try to understand. But the PAR reading, right? Photosynthetic active radiation, right? And PER, the photosynthetic usable radiation, are essentially two different things. So they are both parts of light, and it does get very confusing. Now, when you have a PAR meter, right? So oftentimes you'll see people with videos that, like for instance, the Aquarium Co-op. So Corey, you'll see him like put a sensor down in the tank, put a light on top of it, and get a PAR reading. Now, a PAR reading is very helpful because it'll give you the idea of the PAR, right, which is the active radiation of light that's flying around. It'll give you a reading for that. You also want to get a PER reading, which is the usable radiation, which is a different wavelength of light, right, than just pure PAR rating. Now, that's one of those things that's the difference between the 2.0 and the 3.0 of the Fluval lights. And I will be honest with you guys, I had a specific conversation with the guy from the branch of Fluval who's the head of, like, actually building all of this stuff. And, you know, I don't know whether or not he's supposed to, I don't know. As far as I know, it's in the literature, so if you guys look it up, it's not that big of a deal. But the PER is what they focused on in the 3.0 light versus the 2.0 light. Now, what that means for us is that if we put a PAR meter in there, the PAR meter says that it's lower, right? But the PER is what is higher in the 3.0, which we don't notice as much of that because a lot of it is, you know, infrared wavelengths. It's wavelengths that our eyes don't see. But the PAR is also in there. Now, I know that the programmable thing in there just has colors, right? It's just showing you the colors. Basically, the and I might screw this up, and then I don't want people to get all super pissed later on if I screw this up a little bit, but the way that I look at it is this way. So par is going to be a lot of the yellow light and stuff like that that we typically see, right? The per is going to be most of the, it's going to be a combination of the red and the blue. So a bunch of the infrared and stuff that we don't see at all is what is in the per versus the par. Now, I know that that's like wildly confusing, but the difference between the two is that one we don't really see, the other one we see the reflection of, that has reflected off of the leaf, and when we're able to see the remaining light that comes off, that's what our eyes see, right? And it's a lot easier to pick up on a par reading versus the per, right? And of course it has to be exact, like super close together, PAR and PUR, right? And then the differences is that if we have more per, it doesn't necessarily look as bright to the eye, which in turn makes us think it's not working as well, right? Because we put the par meter in there and then we go, oh, it has a lower number, but we're not measuring the other portion of light, which would be the per. And so I think that's what's kind of missing a little bit out there as far as like in the consciousness of people that are like doing planet tanks and stuff like that. I do notice that people talk about per a lot more in reef keeping, the reef keeping groups. And it's very confusing, I know, but there are definitely some articles out there that I would 100% like say to go out there and read. And I don't even know if I did like a very good explanation of it just now. Probably not. I know that a bunch of people probably just logged out, which is true because 20 of them just left. Like, this guy's saying idiotic stuff. But so basically what it is that like the usable radiation, as was asked here, do plants mostly use the ultraviolet? They don't necessarily mostly use ultraviolet, but it is one of the spectrums that is utilized by the photosynthetic process. So we don't notice a lot of it. Now, the question that was brought up here is there probably less light hitting the plants way up in the front? I would think that technically my answer would be probably yes. I would say that like probably yes, but I think the only reason for that is that would be a longer distance through the water, but I'm also thinking that the reflected light might balance it out. So it might end up being exactly the same in the front of a bow front tank. But I do know from my experience that I hate bow front tanks. I mean, it's a personal preference thing. If you guys like them, awesome. And it's just a personal preference for me that I don't like looking at the stuff in there. Like, things are oversized because they're stretched and changed, and it's just like building the furniture is a huge pain. So I honestly have gotten way out from utilizing bow front tanks. I just don't enjoy them. I wonder, I might even have some like really old pictures of a bow front I had a really long time ago, but I've gotten away from them, and I haven't been doing much work in the bow fronts, like using a par meter or anything like that in there. I would see if somebody has done some par readings, but I really feel like the front of a bow front would actually end up working like a lens and probably focus light in the front. Jeff Rose says, I saw a bow front and a bow back tank last weekend in Michigan. It was double vision. Yeah, I think that's the one setup I like with the bow front is when people turn them around backwards and then the bow is in the back. So I guess it's a bow back tank, right? That's one that definitely I think that's the way that I would use it if I ever had one of those. But I'm sort of at the point right now that if it's not exactly the tank I want, I don't even want to mess with it anymore. I don't even want to have anything to do with it. So let's see here. Nick's Fish Room with a Canadian $5 super chat says, "Hey Joel, I have 120 gallons cycling for Discus. We're going to have a moment of silence right now, you guys. Because I got that brand new 120 out there, and I was hoping to set it on a stand today. It's not on a stand yet, but I will say this. I did order the substrate for it yesterday. So that should be here soon, and I think big bags of substrate will be hyper motivating for me to move everything around. I did not have the time to, break out the saw and do all that stuff to be able to move the reef, because the reef is going to be going into the 60-gallon tank, so I got to do all that stuff, and boy howdy, I want to try and do it tonight, but I know that my bride's going to come home, and she's going to want me to not be working. But says, with the rest of the question was, right now I have jungle val in the tank. We'll plan on keeping it at 86 degrees. Suggestions on suitable plants. 86 degrees, man. I probably would have to look up warmer temperature plants, but 86 degrees, I would think most anything from around the equator shouldn't have a problem with 86 degrees water temperature. So I would think anything from Vietnam. I would think anything. Let me think. Let me try this. Let me try equator. I'm gonna try equator aquarium plants. Let's see. Let's go here. Oh, saltwater fish has popped up. Yeah, that was very helpful. Now, see, this is why I think you guys like. I think this is why you guys like to ask me questions, because this is ridiculous. Well, let me look at a quick list that. Where am I at? I'm at aquariumplants.com, which, by the way, I always recommend aquariumplants.com. These guys have always sent me awesome plants back in the day. I ordered from these guys for years and years and years, and I've always dug these guys. And since they moved to Florida, I think that their stuff's like even a little bit better, honestly, because they're getting a lot of stuff from pretty cool spots. Yeah, actually, that begs to reason 86 degrees would be cool for any Anubias, that's for sure. So any of the hard leaf plants will be fine with 86 degrees. Aponogetons would be fine, that's for sure. Any kind of the baby tears, any of that stuff will be fine. I think just anything that's considered a tropical plant is going to be, 86 degrees isn't going to be that crazy. It's not going to be that far out of the realm of how much the temperature that they're supposed to be at. I think realistically, I will. Okay, so Nick and I, we email each other and message each other pretty regularly. I'll message you a list about this later. I'll have to get onto my other computer and look at my plant list notes and see what I got, and I'll follow up on that one. Let's see. Okay, so clicked with a 3-pound super chat with no question in it. Thanks, man, for the tip jar. I appreciate it. Kevin Keener says he's pissed already. Poor, infuriating. Yes, it's very the light stuff. It can be infuriating, but to be brutally honest with you, if you guys spend a little time reading a couple of papers about it, a couple of actual articles about it and stuff like that, I think it will click in your head of how it's confusing. Because back in the day we used to just go. Like, how many watts per gallon? That used to be the big thing. That used to be, you want 1, 2, 3 watts per gallon is what we used to do, because it was just a basic measurement that, like, if you were just jamming enough power into a light bulb, and enough light bulbs over the tank, that the plants would just grow. Whereas the LEDs now are actually utilizing some of the technology of the par versus per, and then having the specific lighting considerations. One of the things I really like I said, you could buy a Fluval light, you could buy a Phoenix light, you could buy whatever you like. It doesn't bother me, but I do like that the Fresh and Plant 3.0, because I can actually dial up the red spectrum, I can dial up the blue spectrum, I can kick back the white, which I don't really need when I'm looking, or if I'm not looking in the tank, I don't really need that light. I'll bust that up when I'm filming, because it does make the filming look a lot better. It looks a lot better when I personally am looking into the tank, but the plants aren't utilizing a lot of that light. I mean, they're utilizing some of it, but that light is not really what plants are going for. But that infrared and the blues and that stuff is what plants really like, and then the red typically is the one that it's grabbing the most. That's why you see plants as green, because they're absorbing the red light. So that's what I would go for. If just as a reminder to people, like, read a few articles that you can find from some honest websites. There is a lot of research out there on light. As some people have mentioned, light goes at the exact same speed. That's right. Scientists have been studying light for a long time, so you can actually definitely find some really well written out stuff. There was a couple of times that I started writing some articles about lighting and those things, and then I would pop onto the internet and realize that, oh, there's some better ones here with guys with the doctor in front of their name, so why don't I just leave that to those guys, and then I could just, pass those on to you guys whenever I find them. But personally, within the planted the aquarium trade, that's kind of the stuff that I look for. James Leicester says, the bow fronts were super cool 25 years ago when I got this and had a 20-year break. Great info on me to keep researching and to consider adjusting plants. Yes, that's one thing I have to stress everybody out there. If you want a beautiful looking tank, you have to work on it. That is the big secret. It's the big giant secret, you guys. It's the big secret that everyone is always wondering about. Like, how do I get such a beautiful tank? You have to work on it. You have to work on it. You have to make adjustments. You have to move plants around. You have to move hardscape around. You have to do all that kind of stuff. If you're involved, then it will become a beautiful tank. You will get better and better and better and better and awesomer over time, just doing a little bit of work every day. It's not a huge time commitment, 10 minutes a day, something like that. Even in my fish room, if I spend 15, 20 minutes a day in there, every day out of the week, it gets nicer and nicer in there. So that's the big secret that everyone's not telling you about, basically. It's Nature Man says, I wish I had researched lights before I bought my first aquarium. I bought a 38-gallon Aquarium kit light, and it was terrible. Bought the extra bulb, and it's still terrible. Yeah, that's the big thing that I have tried to explain to people. And I always, people say I end up sounding like a curmudgeon or somebody who's like trying to get down on other people or this or that or the other thing, which I'm not. But, having gone in this hobby and being a guy who spent way too much money, like building my own stuff, building my own LEDs, trying out different cheaper accommodations and stuff like that. If I talk about it like involved in the aquarium trade, suddenly I'm a jerk and I'm like bashing everybody else that wants to DIY stuff. And I would like to clarify, excuse me guys, I take everything I own apart and put it back together, break it, modify it, do all that kind of stuff all the time. You guys know I built my own fish room. I did the drywall, the electrical, the plumbing, the framing, the floor, the stands, all that stuff. I'm 100% behind people doing their own stuff, but there are certain spots where you're gonna lose money, and one of them is you go the cheap route on lights, you're gonna end up spending the money later. So, it's the same recommendation I gave. Who was it? Oh, shoot. I'm not very good at telling a story right now because I had just gotten... Hold on, let me see. Let me see here. I don't know. Somebody had asked me a little while ago about advice on some kind of product or whatever, and I can't remember what it was, and I'm having a brain fart, but maybe I'll remember it in 10 minutes and then just yell it out, and people like, this guy's so weird. But when somebody had asked about a piece of equipment and which one to get, dehumidifier, that's what it was. They were recently asking me about a dehumidifier, like what specific brand should I get, and I was like, well... Basically, you want to get, here's the size you want to get. You want to get a 90 to 120 or like a 110 pint a day. So you just want to get a big one. And then you want one that has a good warranty on it. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, people have dehumidifiers just hammering away all year round in their basement. And the thing is with a dehumidifier, just the same as a light, you leave that thing on, you use it for a really long time, it's going to break. It's just going to give out. That's really the thing. It's just going to give out. So my advice was, I don't care if you get GE, I don't care if you get a Frigidaire, I don't care if whichever one you get, just get the big enough sized one with the longest real warranty. So you're probably going to have to go some kind of name brand, but just make sure you get the one that has the longest warranty. Because if you get the one that has like a 5-year warranty, you use it a lot, and it breaks in 2 years, and you're like, hey, GE, my dehumidifier is broken. And they'd be like, oh, well, we have a warranty for that. You know, most likely replace it or something along those lines. You know, that's going to be the best thing. So as far as the DIY stuff goes, I think DIY is fantastic. I post DIY videos to help you guys out. I think it's awesome for certain things like plumbing, making some adaptations to things, building your own stand. That is a great thing. You know, I do recommend people that someday like start to maybe work your way into building your own tank at some point in time. If you had like, you could build your own tank at some point in time. You know, I recommend for people to get into that stuff for sure, but there's just has never been a point where the DIY light stuff ever saved money, or going cheap on the lights ever saved me money long term. I have been keeping Planet tanks for an extremely long period of time, and I've been through the, oh great, this light doesn't work anymore. Oh great, something happened and the cord's broken. Oh, no, great. Something inside here is broken. It's going to take me 2 days to figure out which component is no longer working as I sit there with a voltmeter to go around and find out which stator was broken or whatever and do all that kind of stuff. And then the reality starts to kick in that, you know what, I could have just gotten hired for a job, worked for 2 days, and bought a bunch of the Fluval lights, right? But in the meantime, I'm like, I'm going to fix this thing, and it's going to be and then I just have the same old broken light that happens to be fixed for a little while. So, I don't know. And that was a huge rant, and I apologize. I'm sorry. But I do recommend people learning how to do their own plumbing, definitely finding and rebuilding things that, you know, it's like plastic canister filters. They just are cheap. They have O-rings in them. They have points of failure on them, which is why one of the big reasons I recommend people learn how to do some plumbing and plumb your own sumps and stuff. If you're using a canister, a sump is just a bigger, more awesome canister, you know, and the plumbing is 100 times more durable if you're the one building it and using the right products. And you know, if you're only having to buy 4 feet of awesome pipe, it doesn't really add up to be that much. And if you're doing all the gluing, the assembling, and cutting, and all that kind of stuff, you could rebuild some awesome stuff that is going to cost way less than ordering, you know, something specifically built for you. Aqua Freedom with the $4.99 tip jar super chat tip jar in the tip jar thing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Brendan's live with a $5 chat asking, I'm having a custom acrylic plant storage rack like Corey has, but for a 10-gallon, and I was quoted $40, and that includes shipping. Quarantine upgrade time. I know a few things about those acrylic plant storage racks, because I built them. If you want, where you live, they $40? No, that's awesome. Quarantine upgrade time with some acrylic plant storage rack. That's going to be awesome. To be brutally honest with you, the guys, everybody that at the co-op that uses those loves them. You know, to be honest with you, I built those for free. Corey just bought all the parts, and I ended up making them. As I felt like it was a learning experience. It was a good opportunity for me to move through a lot of material that I wouldn't normally be moving through. So it was kind of cool, and I definitely think those plant holding racks are awesome. I have some little ones that I'm making. I'm gonna spoil the surprises, you guys. I'm gonna spoil the surprise a little bit. I have some little plant racks that I'm making, and I don't feel like they're ready for release yet because I'm still kind of working on the design a little bit to make it more multifunctional. But it's going to be pretty cool, I think. I think it's going to be pretty cool. It's something that I've wanted for a really long time, so I've been working on making some of those, and so hopefully I'll be able to give you guys a little step-by-step to show you guys how to make some little plant racks that are kind of floating. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to describe something that I'm going to make a video out of at some point in time. Don't worry, I'll show it to you guys for sure. Jeff Rose Fish Keeping, it says, is a P-trap a must regarding plumbing? Yes, on any system that actually drains directly into the main plumbing drain, there will be noxious gases coming up out of those drains and could potentially kill any of the people in the domicile, the dwelling, your fish room, or anything like that. You do need to have a P-trap there in order to, keep the... So basically what a P-trap does is it goes like this, and there's water in there. There's a seal. That's what keeps the gases from coming up and out of the, if you go down and look in, the plumbing main that is out behind my house here is actually what is it? 32-inch pipe. And then all of the 6-inch pipes go into it. And if you've ever been down there, it's pretty noxious, bros. That gas is not a good deal. You do not want it to be coming up and directly, into an enclosed area. It's not going to be great. Let's see here. Fishhead2925 is asking, what would you recommend for an overflow, either DIY or store-bought for a sump? I'm not quite sure I'll be able to drill my existing tanks. Well, my 100% recommendation is to drill an overflow. That is 100% my recommendation. If you're not able to drill it, there's not a single overflow out there that I can recommend. I've messed with so many of them. They all have a point of failure. I'm sorry. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to get super mad at me and said that I made an overflow and it's never failed and it's never done this, it's never done that. Cool. That's fantastic. In my personal experience, every time somebody has an overflow that's going over the tank, that's an installed one, at some point in time, it fails and there's a problem. And more often than not, it loses its siphon break. It almost always loses siphon or something like that. Water gets pushed back up into the tank. It probably overflow like a gallon, 5 gallons, whatever, something like that. That's the most common failure. Like a power outage or something happened at some point in time, and then it doesn't start the siphon back up, but then the pump turns back on. So my 100% recommendation is to drill the tank. I understand it's a bit scary. It's a scary thing to drill a tank. I drive out to drill people's tanks I've done it many times, and there probably is somebody in your area that can do it also. These days, it's really easy to get the diamond bits if you have a good drill. You just have to make a template, keep it water cooled, all that kind of stuff. It's not the craziest thing in the world, but I 100% drill for an overflow. It's the end all be all in the fact that it as Mr. B's asking, is there a good failure? So in a drilled overflow situation, if it fails and doesn't work, there's a backup, right? So I use the one siphon overflow and then a backup overflow, right? That is dry. It's just a dry pipe until, like, if water gets too high, it'll go into that overflow. If the power turns off and the pump loses its power, water will drain down, but there's not too much into the sump. The aquarium coop, Mr. Kobe just popped in to say my PVC overflow for my pond only has to be reset once a week. Well, that's all, just once a week. So there you go. This gives you a perfect example right there. That if you can get it to a point, you definitely got to drill it if you can. Let's see. Oddball Aqualic says, getting ready to start the basement fish room build at my house. Trying to learn as much as I can about plumbing everything out. Perfect. That is definitely one of those things that you want to do. You want to work into that. If you're doing a fish room in a basement, I would take the two things I would take into consideration for your plumbing is the main drain higher than the basement floor. That would something that you need to take into consideration for sure. If that's the case, you need to figure out what's your consistent sump, the sump in the basement as your mainstay drain. Always add in a grease trap or some other point of failure that can assist with maintaining a good system in the basement. That would be the biggest thing. If you're going to do a sump in your basement that pumps up, which is what I would have to do here. My back, it itches. Oh, yeah. Which is what I would have to do here. You definitely want to make sure that you have something that is in between the pump and whatever's going down the drain. So something like a grease trap. Grease trap is typically the best thing that you can find for that. That would be my biggest recommendation there before it goes into the sump chamber and then gets pumped up into your drain. At Joel, 125-gallon baby discus grow-out tank, best way to filter. James H., the best way to filter a baby discus grow-out tank that's bare bottom is massive water changes. Massive daily water changes. And by the way, I take my cue from the breeders overseas. All of the, let's see, I know 2 Vietnamese breeders that live here, 1 Thai breeder that lives here, and I've spoken to them extensively about discus breeding and stuff. It's all about keeping clean water with discus. That's the main thing. First thing, you could heavily plant, or B, bare bottom tank with nothing in it, and you're just doing it as a discus grow tank, like you said. I would paint 3 sides to keep to help keep them some cover. I would make some PVC sort of hides with like really big PVC, like 8-inch PVC, so that they have spots where they can go into and just kind of chill out when they do get a little stressed out. And just massive water changes is going to be the best thing that you can do. That is the best filtration for discus breeding, discus growing, any of that kind of stuff. Those guys have been doing it for decades, and I don't even mean 20 years. I mean, there's guys that have been doing it family style, 70 years going. That is going to be, massive water changes are going to be the best way to do with discus. As far as filtering goes, get a big sump like I do. It's the best way to filter. And plants. If you can't do the big water changes and stuff like that, plants everywhere. Plants in it, on it, around it, pulling from it all the time is going to be the best thing to help keep your discus healthy. There was There's a great discus colony on one of the fish room tours that I did recently at Scottish Aquatics. Shout out to Scottish. What's up, my guy? He does have some discus for sale, which I would highly recommend anybody in the Washington area, if you are looking for some of those discus, to hit up Scottish Aquatics. Right now is the time. He did send me an email this morning, or a text or something. I don't know, some form of written word. He sent me this morning that he is selling some of his discus fish. So if you are in the Washington area and you want some really good locally born, raised, aquaculture discus, get a hold of Scottish Aquatics right now. Now would be the time to do that. Let's see here. Brendan's Life says, I'm going to drill some 1-gallon containers and plumb overflows in so I can feed fresh water from my display. Got to get that beta rack going. Yeah. I like that. It's not really a question. It's more of a statement. But I dig it. Definitely like that. Let's see. Anthony C. Major trouble with discus egg fungus. Tried methylene blue with not great results. Methylene blue would be one of the great ways to go. Methylene green would be a way to go. But my best advice with any discus eggs, keep that water highly oxygenated. If you can, keep the eggs moving. If you can get an egg tumbler, that would be great. That helps to keep them really oxygenated, keeps the fungus from being able to grow. Is a great thing. And also, looking to get in some shrimp. I can't remember off the top of my head which shrimp are going to be great that don't eat the discus eggs, but look that up. Look up fungus, fish eggs, shrimp. Clean them. A lot of shrimp will clean the fungus off of a lot of eggs. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth right now and say one type. I can't remember. It's something I would have to look up in my notes, but check out some shrimp. Some shrimps will clean eggs, and I can't remember which ones, and I don't want to be like, get ghost shrimp, and then we find out a week later that you got them and they ate all the eggs. So hopefully that helps, those couple things. M. Howie9 is asking, there a video on identifying tempered glass. Also, don't drill the long sides of a 55-gallon. Learned that the hard way. Yes, you have to check and see if glass is tempered. There are some really cool videos for that. It basically comes down to you wearing sunglasses, taking it out into the sun, looking at it at an angle, and if it has all these crazy waves in it and stuff, you'll know, oh, there you go, it's tempered. And if you don't understand the technique, put the glasses on and go look at your windows in your car, because your car will have tempered windows unless you have a car from 1928 or something crazy like that. But oh, yeah, malachite green. Sorry, Terry. Sorry, Terry. Yes, methylene blue and malachite green. Sorry, I think I probably mixed those up, but that's a correction. Thank you, Terry. Malachite green, methylene blue. Yes, correct that. But maybe you have a super old car with pane glass in it, then you have weirder problems having to crank start that thing in December. So, but yes, it's basically you need some polarized sunglasses, which are like $5 off of Amazon now, and it shouldn't be that big of a point of entry. Anthony C. says, as a follow-up on the discus eggs, never heard that before, thanks. So you would have to pull eggs from parents. Yes, always. If you're breeding, always pull the eggs from the parents. Do not trust the parents. Any fish. Does not matter. Does not matter what fish you're talking about. I don't care. I don't care what fish you're talking about. Don't trust the parents. It's a crapshoot with the parents. Always. And sometimes they get eaten. Often they get eaten. The parents are terrible parents. No, just be honest with you. We're smarter than the fish. Just, I don't know. If anyone out there is going to argue with me that people aren't smarter than the fish, then cool. Maybe you're not. I don't know. As you guys know, I have a firm reputation of getting in arguments with people that have some strange takes on things. The flat Earth has come up again. and it's hilarious. I'm not saying anybody here believes in the flat earth or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just saying maybe those are the same people that would think that fish are smarter than people. I think that fish live a better lifestyle than people do, but I'm not sure that I would say that they're smarter, you know? Except convict cichlids. Even convict cichlids, I'd take it away from them too. But then again, I don't breed cichlids for the reason that the times that I bred cichlids, I ended up with 9,000 of them. That got out of hand quick, all right? I'm going to be honest with you guys. Breeding cichlids gets out of hand super fast. And the next thing you know, you have some kind of crazy, huge monster collection going on that is totally crazy. Gillett says, what about guppy eggs? Well, that's why I'm into live bears, you jerk, so be quiet. It's a hard time, Gillett. You're giving me a hard time right now. I know, buddy. I know, my bud. Let's see here. Trying to read through the chat. Did I miss any super chats? Let me see here. Nope. I didn't miss any super chats. All right. Well, that's good. I like it when I don't have missed super chats. That's always so hard. Alvin Alejo says, Flat Earth is so yesterday. It's all about making fun of California and their no straw law. I guess. Anthony C. that says, that's for sure. 3 good spawns. Parents were good after Wiggler size. Now 6 or 7 failures. Yeah. You just realistically, you can't really trust the parents of fish to really pull it off. You know, for whatever reason. I don't know what their deal is. It's always some kind of weird thing that just makes them go bonkers. Gillett says the Earth is the shape of Alex Jones' head. Oh, it's about as swollen and big, too. As Susan from SLC Aquatics is here. What's up, Susan? Good to see you. Can't stay, but stopping by to like and share. Oh, thank you very much. Stopping by for the like, smashing the share button, and fiddling with the whatever button. What are all the buttons we're supposed to do around here now? It's turning into a heavy commitment. It's turning into a heavy commitment around here, around these parts, with the all the button pushing, lever pulling, and dials and bells and whistles and craziness. I don't know. Do you want to make it simple on yourself? Do you want to make it easier on yourself and become one of the oceaneers? Do you want to become an oceaneer? Do you want to learn how to become a representation of this show right here in human flesh? I'm going to tell you something. Right now. I just posted a link in the chat to the Patreon page. This show would not happen if it wasn't for Patreon and all the people on Patreon that patronize the patronization of this show. This show would not happen. So, I don't know how to express my joy. I have to express my joy and gratitude. I have to express my joy and gratitude by shouting over there. Man. If it wasn't for the Patreon, I wouldn't even be here today. And here, I mean, the transcendental here probably doesn't imply right now. I think I'd still be on the Earth. I think I'd still be with Vicky Toria. I think we'd still live in this house. We did all that. We did all that stuff. That's the jam. Not to mention we got the baby coming. Of which I just saw a video the other day that there's 4 million people named Michael, and now I'm thinking I got to name her something else. It's just a seed of doubt. It's just a seed of doubt in there. I don't know. Sometimes a seed of doubt gets planted, and then it grows into a doubt tree, and then we can't be trusting our minds, and we need to sit down and meditate. Sometimes we need to do those things. It's just, and sometimes on a Wednesday we have to slow down and express our gratitude from the Oceaneers and everybody who's been kicking in on Patreon. Because honestly, I don't think my fortitude, my intestinal fortitude, would have gotten me this far. I don't think it would have gotten this far. I don't think we would have gotten to this point if it wasn't for the people on Patreon. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have happened. It just would not have been able to get to this point, to have enough time to dedicate to making these shows and showing up and stuff if it wasn't for the people on Patreon. And I just want to say thank you. And you know what? If you want to become an Oceaneer, you can. It's pretty easy. Just go over there, click the buttons and whatever, and do all that stuff. But I just want to say thanks. I'm feeling emotional, you guys. I'm feeling emotional. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that the combination of my parents' DNA, you slap that together, and you end up with a grown man who... Like, I literally have the concern on a daily basis that people don't like me. Like, I know it shouldn't bother me at all. Like, I know, because realistically it doesn't. But somehow the thought's there. I don't know. I guess it just has something to do with being human, I think, is what the reality of it is. But, I don't know. That happens to me on a regular basis. And it's like this cycle of weirdness. Yeah, it's like a cycle of weirdness that just goes on. And I come back to it every couple of weeks, and then I kind of cycle out of it again. And then And maybe that's normal. Maybe that's normal. Maybe everyone else feels that way too, and they're like, yeah, I have that too. But either way, I figure I've got a microphone. I'm on the internet right now. I might as well tell you guys about some of the things that pop around in my head. And that's one of the things that does pop around into my head. Bentley Pascal says, I'm starting to sound like a millennial. Honestly, I sound like an addict. I sound like an addict and an alcoholic. Because I am. Self-admittedly, I've been sober now. Well, where's the counter? Crap. I don't know. Well over 4 years. Like 4.5 years now. And I think it has a lot to do with that. Honestly, it's just it's that crappy behavior, depression, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. That's what led me I think that's what led me down that path a long time ago. I think it's the same thing. So yes, it's I wouldn't say it's millennial behavior. I think personally, if I was to self-identify it, I think it has a lot to do with being an alcoholic and an addict, which is why I go to meetings, I seek help. Do all that kind of stuff, and that's why I'm sober now, man. I'm not just for today. I'm never going back, and I just got to focus on today. Just as a reminder to you guys too, I got to focus on today. You guys just focus on today, and that just hopefully it helps me get by. You know, when I have that feeling, when that stuff comes up, that's the stuff that I start to refer to. That's the stuff that I start to think about. Is like, you know what? I don't need to think about all that stuff. I just need to think about what I'm doing right now, and it helps me just kind of get back into that, like, and we're going to get past that, and then a couple weeks from now, I'll probably come back through the same thing. But it's all one day, one moment, 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, one whatever at a time, and that's the way she goes, you know. So you always got to check in and not get to a point where you're just like, I'm living in my own head of craziness, right? So that, but that's going on. I don't know. We get about an hour in, and then I'll start talking about myself, you know, because I don't know. I can't talk to you about how you guys feel. I guess I can talk to you about how I feel, but I don't know. I know I always look at it this way. It might make 110 people like yawn and be like, this guy's ridiculous. But if it makes one person go, oh, all right, cool, then that's my reward. Right there. That's my reward. That's all I really need. James H says, day by day, clean and sober, 18 years. Hot damn. I hope I never pass you. Hope I never break your record. Or, I mean, I hope I don't. Hope I don't go past. How does it say? It's not a race, but it's cumulative. I hope I don't. You know what I mean. Ridiculous. Trevor Crawford says, we would not be here if we didn't like you. Keep it coming. Oh. Well, I'm trying not to read. Try not to read platitudes out loud, okay? All right, me. Cool. Alvin Alejo with a $2 super chat saying, hope everyone is enjoying the hot weather. Ah, I forgot to give you guys a weather update today. I am back. I am back to glorious Western Washington weather until some point in time next week where it'll go back to being super hot again. Today, tomorrow, and Friday, mid-70s, partly cloudy with clearing in the afternoon. I love it. I'm not a huge fan of the 95 degrees, 98 degrees, it's going to be 100. Stuff that's been going on here. Not a huge fan, personally. Jeff Rose Fish Keeping with a $4.99 chat says, when in doubt, name her Jeffro. When in doubt, throw down the Jeffro. Click says, I never told anyone my baby's name beforehand. Frogmella loves her name. That's hilarious. That's next level. Thank you. It's Nature Man says, an old lady asked me to get a 135 gallon out of her basement. The tank is old and never been used. It has been drilled and set up for water to return from the bottom. What can I do to make it work? I'm confused. What can you do to make it work? It sounds like it should work. I mean, you could either cap off you could put a new bulkhead in if it's been drilled to return from the bottom and have it return from the bottom. You could put a bulkhead in it with a cap in it if you just want to cap it off and not operate it that way. But old free tank like that, 135, that's not bad at all. And, could be a thing, could be a deal, could be a thing, could be a deal. I see Aquapros checking in saying, I'm feeling hot, hot, hot. I'm sure Aquapros missed the first part of the chat today when I was talking about the Aquapros video. I got it finished. Then it was rendering, and then the rendering crashed. I was excited because I was gonna call Mike from Aquapros and tell him how good the video was, but now it's just an edited thing. It's not even a video yet. But I was working on it today, thinking about you, bro. Moving out there in the hot weather. Good luck. Chris Kraft says, if I use less than recommended amount of dechlorinator, I'm up in Bellevue, so not much chlorine. How could that affect the tank? Would it affect the plants and not the fish? Pretty rarely would that be the case, but Chris, I will remind you that Bellevue is renowned for being 20 times over the amount of chlorine that's supposed to be in the water. Because Bellevue doesn't need to tell anybody. If you're in Bellevue, Washington doesn't need to alert anybody until it gets to 25 times the amount typically that is in the water. So they will not send out an alert until it gets to 25. And I know that personally from a breeder back in the day who poisoned his whole fish room because Bellevue water is super good. Sometimes those Bellevue guys don't know what they're doing and overdose the chlorine. So it could be chlorine, it could be chloramine. They could be moving water from somewhere else. If there's ever a question, well, I guess the reasoning for that is that 20 times until it's going to affect humans, which is 25 times the normal amount. They don't need to. They don't need to tell anybody because there's no. It's not an alert. It's no one to alert. It would be like saying, hey, Something's not going on. Don't worry. Just wanted to call and tell you, so, but Pleco Breeder back in the day annihilated his whole fish room doing massive water changes, couldn't figure out what was going on, and later got the water report from those guys, and turns out, yes, they had over. They basically opened the chlorine valve and just left it open. It would be the easy way to explain it. But Chris saying I'm not having fish issues, but I am trying to determine why my water column plants are struggling. Yes, I'm gonna have to get some water tests and see what's going on. Because even if you were doing RO water and whatnot, the water column plants should still be fine in a good system. A healthy running system. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Leslie09's Fish Room says, stupid computers. Well, not a big deal, because as I mentioned, that video is going to be coming out on Saturday, so I will have fixed it by then, but it's just, I'm just expressing some of my frustration about trying to get YouTube videos out to you guys, trying to drop the YouTube bombs on in August, which is probably not the best way to go about it, but it is what it is, right? But Chris, I would definitely recommend getting some Seachem Safe. Seachem Safe is the best way to go. It's the powdered version. You can always get it from Aquarium Co-op if you want. And if you're in Bellevue, Washington, you could drive over there. I don't know how you're going to use my affiliate link, though, if you do. I don't know if you do go to... Yeah, I don't know how you're going to use my affiliate link. You should just order everything, even though you're just in driving distance. Is that goofy? I think it's goofy. If you don't know what the Aquarium Co-op is, and if you're in the United States, that's my trusted source. A lot of my plants, a lot of my stuff is from there. I go down there. That's where I go to get my stuff. I love all the workers there. I love the owner. Love all those guys, and very trusted, very trustworthy source. And not to mention, it's the same kind of deal I was talking about with those lights earlier today, is that, if you were going to go get your Fluval lights, I would go get them from Corey, because he does the warranty. He does the warranty, which is dope. And he does, like Fluval does actively cover their warranty. And they really do. And I've seen it in person, verified that they do it. Don't say anything brilliant for at least the next 120 seconds. I don't know what you're doing for 120 seconds, but it's an extended amount of time. Trevor Crawford says, better water here than where I'm from. I drink it and it burns the face and throat. Feel lucky to be in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, the water here is fantastic. I don't know how many times I thank my lucky stars that the water here is as good as it is. And speaking of that, no, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. We may or may not have some crazy good news coming out to you guys sometime soon, but never mind. I was almost going to tell you about it, but I can't spoil it. But speaking of a 120 seconds, I got the 120-gallon tank in the garage. Whew. I'm super excited for that tank. I can't wait to get it in, and I want to tell you guys something. Did you think it paused? I think it froze. It didn't freeze. I tricked you. But I'm happy to tell you guys something. I will be doing 3 types of substrate going into that one. I got a bunch of cool driftwood that I actually collected with Tom Barr in person. And I'm going to be doing a bunch of rocks from... I haven't figured out if I'm going to do the rocks from the Sierra Stone or not. I haven't figured that out yet, if I'm going to be doing that on this one. I haven't figured that out. Jordan Fisher says, tried giving you this in a $5 super chat, but apparently lost my password. But I'm the one that took something from your alcohol and addict story. Thank you. I've been battling for years, and thank you. Love it, Jordan. Love to hear it. As I've mentioned before, the easiest and best way to support the show. I know there's a lot of people out there that like the super chat platform, and I don't hate the super chat platform. It's not bad. They're just a personal preference thing. But the easiest and kind of best way is through Patreon. So if you are somebody that's willing you want to kick in $5 or something like that, you can go to the Patreon, which is a third-party site, keeps all your stuff secure over there, and then it's a once-a-month thing, from there on out. So it really is honestly the best way, and believe it or not, not to just talk about Patreon all day or whatever, but it is the one thing that it's the one thing that I'm able to like slide across the table with CEOs and be like, read that. Sure. And then be like, that's just the sponsorship from the Oceaneers. You know what I mean? And it's the one thing that they look at and go, wait, what? So it really is the big thing that I'm able to take in front of people. And I can't tell you specifically which ones I've done it to, but I've specifically done it to some, and they're like, oh, weird. Because it's one of those things, like, people will look at YouTube, analytics or whatever, right? Like, they'll like go and look at, this channel, for instance, right? And they'll go, okay, so you've got, like, what is this stupid thing? What are you doing? Like, load. Like, come on. There we go. So they would maybe like go to why is this not loading? Hold on a second. Keep my stream of consciousness going here. So they might go to my YouTube page, right? And they'll go like, "Oh, you've got 15,000 subscribers." That's not a lot, cuz I've heard of they'll be like, "Cuz I've heard of channels with 10 million." And you're like, oh, yeah, you mean Justin Timberlake's channel? You mean like Michael Jackson's channel? Like 10 million subscribers? Okay, got it. So there's not that many people that really have 10 million subscribers. There just isn't. But they'll go there and they'll look and they'll go like, oh, 15,000, okay. And then they'll go to look at how many views a video has gotten, right? So like over the last, so let's see, 2,300 views from the tour, 1,000, 2,000, 1,200, 1,400, 2,300. So they'll go look at it and they'll go like, oh well, yeah, I don't know, man. You only get like 2,000 views or 5,000 views for a video or whatever, and I'm like, yeah. But that's 5,000 people specific to the thing that you do, right? Right. So that's really the thing that like if they were to go look at the YouTube stuff, they're like, I don't know, but the Patreon is the thing that I can just point and like put out right in front of them. It's an actual dollar amount. It's an actual thing, and so that honestly is the easiest way to, be a part of the, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The Oceaneers. There we go. Excuse me. I'm going to get some water here. All right. Okay. Well, we've got a last and final super chat here. And then we got to get rolling. We got to get rolling for today. All right. Got to get going here. $10 super chat from Dave B. It's bright yellow. It means I got to deal with this. It says, hey, Joel, I have my local water quality report, but have yet a real solid source of info for what to look in terms of potential issues and how to read buffering power. What is your go-to source? Okay. I basically will put it, I'll put it this to kind of in a real basic term. So the API test kit plus the extra parts for testing via APIs test kits, so the extra additional ones, the GH, the KH, all that stuff. You want to look for ammonia, you want to look for chlorine, you want to look for nitrites, you want to look for nitrates. Those are all the things that you want to see. You could go a little nutty and test for copper. You could test for iron and do that kind of stuff, but it realistically will kind of make you start to lose your mind. So if you get the GH and KH plus the API Freshwater Master Test Kit, whatever you want, whatever the full crazy name for it is, get that, test all of those. Those will be all parameters that you'll be able to easily reference off of some pretty quick Google searches. You'll be able to check that kind of stuff out and see like, is there anything I really need to do here? What's going on? And then you need to do that on a regular basis. Like if you move somewhere new, you need to be doing it like once a month. Test your tap water, see what's going on. And just write it down in a notebook or something like that that's not in the way, but you can take it out once a month and write it down. And you can start to kind of figure out like exactly what the water does throughout the year around you. One of the things that's pretty interesting, we were visiting Zenzo, Mr. Tazawa's tanks himself, and we were looking at his water tests and stuff. So his TDS was close to 0. His pH was 8.8. So he had like his water wasn't buffered at all, but the pH was through the roof, right? But the funny thing is that he had that test done, and I was like, oh, yeah, I think that means that they're using chloramine now in your system instead of chlorine. And he was like, what? And it was like, we went and looked it up. Turns out chloramine doesn't activate until the water is over 8.4 pH. So they were at the water plant to make sure for human safety, they were adding chloramines to the water, which means they need to raise the pH up in order to activate the chloramine, right? And so that was the thing that was going on. So he just really clicked in his head like, oh no, that was probably the thing that he did a big water change and he had some of his fish not make it because he didn't add his dechlorinator in there. And that's probably the big deal, is that chloramines won't gas off. They won't go up into the air. They won't go up and evacuate into the air like chlorine will. Chlorine will evaporate. That's kind of one of the things that goes on. And but chloramine doesn't evaporate. And that's one of the weird things, is that the pH does need to be ramped up in order for it to activate and work properly. But either way, a dechlorinator will do both. And I know somebody was mentioning earlier the camera was shaking. It's because whenever I bump into the table, I'm sorry when I do it. It does happen. This old house, I am building a new, I'm definitely building a new studio, so I'm pretty excited for that. There's so much stuff going on. Dave B says, does dechlorinator remove chloramine? It doesn't remove chloramine. It actually binds with it. And actually makes it inert, basically, is the easy way to explain it. It just binds with it and will make it safe after that. Okay, said 118th, can I get a shout-out? We strongly discourage the shout-out, but I do encourage letting us know who you say hi when you show up. 118th, that must have been the 118th person coming on in, joining the chat. Well, if you didn't hit the like button, if you didn't hit the subscribe button, if you didn't hit the share button, I would strongly encourage it, because we were coming up on the end of the show. I got about 2 minutes left. I want to thank everybody for coming out. This was definitely a fun day. I think I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time. We laughed, we cried. We had a bunch of wild stuff happen, but we've got a vexing cat question here. When using a carbon block filter, will it help with the fluctuation from city water, or does it have the potential to overwhelm the carbon block? If I was personally going to use carbon block only, I would almost always plumb in an extra particulate filter. Now, the reason for that, particulates will get in and really mess with a carbon block. It seriously does. It's to not get into all the crazy details. Particulate getting into a carbon block filter, it just screws them up. It just really does. So the addition of a particulate filter in front of it is very, very, very minimal. It really is not that much. I think I bought a 10-pack of the 1 micron filters a little while ago, and it was $7, I think. So it's less than $1. It's less than $1 realistically to change the micron filters out. They are super cheap. It's not that much. I just get a little bit of that. Get one of those and a little bit of those, and put those in because it's just super cheap, and it will keep the carbon block lasting longer. But with carbon block, I always write the date on the outside of it, and when I put like onto the housing of the filter itself, or you could even utilize a piece of like white tape or something like that to put a label on it, so that you might not remember, oh, I changed that 60 days ago, or was it 90 days ago, or 100 days ago, or what, so that's the thing. That's what I would do, and it would definitely help it go. It's Nature Man says, if you went buck wild and used a bunch of profanity, you would probably have a bunch more subscribers. Thanks for keeping it clean. Actually, to be honest with you, I used to swear a lot on this channel. There's a bunch of old videos with me swearing and going crazy and all that kind of stuff. To be really honest with you, I think the subscriber count has gone up. But, I guess maybe it has something to do with the quality or whatever, but I just feel like it doesn't bring anything to the show in reality sense. Like, I don't need to be dropping F-bombs in order to, like, get my point across. So I just, I think I do make a conscious effort that I am just sort of like at my grandma's house, and just don't use 3 or 4 words. It's pretty simple, but I appreciate it too because I think a lot of people approach me and they were like, "Look, I can't play this in my work if you're swearing," because they want to just listen to stuff like at work or outside in the garden or that kind of stuff, and I just don't think it's a great. I don't think it's adding anything. I don't think it's really adding anything to the show or anything like that. So, but I appreciate I appreciate people like putting thought into it. I like it. I like that. Let's see here. Leslie's Fish Room says, have the same water company as bigger cities north of us, but our water is slippery feeling. It's hard to tell if you've washed the soap off in the shower or not. The pH is over 8 in both. Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like you have pretty hard water. You're probably looking to soften it somehow. You probably have a water softener built into your system. Not great. Not great for a fish room. If you're going to be, running water softener into tanks and stuff like that, it won't be good. But I would recommend something like a push filter or at least a carbon block with the micron ahead of it to kind of like knock some of that stuff down. If you can afford the deionizing, that's going to be really good. Or, if you could do something like a holding tank and do reverse osmosis deionized water, like just 100% crisp and clean, that's what I would do personally if I really live somewhere out there. If I lived somewhere out there that had really hard water, crazy water like that, I would just knock it down to RO and then go from there. But I think I would honestly have pretty different systems if I was living somewhere like that. Oddball says, yeah, I'm still team bring back the Mohawk, Grandpa Mohawk Dad doll. It's possible. It's possible, you guys. I never say anything is impossible. Vicky Toria broke it down to me a while ago that I think in a really heartfelt way. Like, she got together with me for the first 2 years that we were together. I had a Mohawk, and I've had a Mohawk for years. I mean, like 20 years or something like that. So it's not that strange to me when people are like, dude, you have a Mohawk. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Many years I've had mohawk, crazy. I've had all sorts of crazy hair, you guys. So not a big deal, but I would probably go back to the mohawk, honestly, if I could get to the point where I was 100% independent. Right now I do have to deal with client interactions and stuff like that. And Vicky, she really kind of broke it down for me that people don't take me as seriously when I do have a mohawk as compared to having just having a high and tight haircut like I do now. I do like having a high and tight. It's close to a mohawk, but it's not, I mean, as far as like maintenance goes, like I just have to keep it shaved, just go to the barber and do that pretty regularly. My hair grows super fast, if you were wondering. But I think that personally, Vicky broke it down for me that she was just like, people don't take me as seriously. And realistically, if I was at the point where I didn't have to have interactions with certain people to, like do work on their property and stuff like that, then I think I might go back to it or something like that. But, I understand. I'm going to be somebody's dad here in a little bit. By the time she's old enough, I'm definitely going to have the mohawk back, because then that would invariably make my daughter turn into like a Ivy League student, right? Isn't it always like the crazy weird parents are the ones that end up with the kids that are like, I'm going to be an international lawyer with my medical degree. Right? Isn't that how that kind of works out, Always kind of funny. But yeah, so either way, much love to everybody. I appreciate everybody from coming out. A little extra shout out for all of the super chats today. Rumbus, thank you very much. Nick B, Nick's Fish Room, Clicked, Aqua Freedom, Brendan's Life, Vexing Cat, Anthony C, Jeff Rose Fish Keeping, Alvin Alejo, and Dave B. Thank you very much, all you super chatters. I definitely like it. Appreciate it. Preach. Thank you very much to all the Oceaneers on Patreon. And thank you very much to everybody on YouTube for following and liking and all that stuff, too. That is also a huge contribution. Love you guys. And hope everybody has a fantastic Wednesday out there. Don't go nuts and light off any fireworks. Head over to the Patreon and see what happens when you're one of those people that's lighting off fireworks. Because Vince posted a picture of, people getting smart with their fireworks down there, and now the whole forest is on fire. But be safe out there. Don't get totally crazy, and I'm going to have to talk to y'all later.